Alright guys, welcome back. This is another live stream trading session. I am looking at a potential value acceptance short in crude oil. I'm just waiting for it to retest this value high where we had this big reaction. So if we have another reaction, I will be going into that. And then we're going to have a look at my trade that I did during London. I'm just going to change the VWAP standard deviation to just be solid rather than filled. Okay. And for this, I am going to use a Renko chart because otherwise, too smaller time frame. We have a bit of a consolidation here on a 2-minute chart. This red line, that is the value high. So now I'm looking for a retest, obviously, of the value high. And then if I can get that, and then I'll be going in. Morning Mike, morning Claudio. Well, Claudio, good afternoon, because you're on the corner. Quick question already. I have a 4-hour continuous line with the price bounce in CL as it's out of market hours. What was the time? Okay, so I'm going into that. What was the time when the 4-hour continuous line was created? Because if it was London, that's not exactly out of hours, because you have Brent crude, you have a huge correlation between the London energy trading, because London Stock Exchange energy trading, and that is not necessarily out of hours. Right, so I'm just gonna see how many contracts we have flying around. Okay, I can place my stop loss because that's probably going to get filled if this doesn't work. Asia. Okay, so sometimes you can have overnight levels working, especially if we are waiting for something to happen, like FOMC today, and as a result you might have slightly less volume kicking about. So I'm gonna have a look at that now that I've got my trade placed. Yeah, you see, that's not a continuous line from Asia. That's a consolidation that was happening from yesterday NYMEX session. And then Asia just kind of moved it away from there. The level, the slowdown, the stop was actually made yesterday. So that, I wouldn't consider that an out of hours level. I would consider that yesterday's level. And if I start drilling down through the 1-hour chart, you will also see that that's exactly where they stopped with a drop we had yesterday towards the end of the session. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call that an out of hours level, because it's not like Tokyo is going to be dead, right? Asia still will trade crude oil, because actually China has one of the largest demands for crude oil. So even though their moves are not necessarily, like if you would be trading just the Asia session, it would be a little bit difficult because it's so small. It only has like 68 ticks for the entire session. So whatever happens with more volume, that usually tends to take precedence, and it means that even if the area might be reactive momentarily, it's not going to be sustained. So there's a huge difference between a sustained level, sustained reaction, and a reactionary pop that just happens anytime the price runs into any relevant zone. So we need to make a distinction between those two. So because of that, I would be very careful looking and calling a reaction from something until such time that there is a definitive sustained reversal price action. Then you can say, okay, that was reactive. Why? But at the same time, like I said, looking at where this level came from, they stopped here. Like this was the end. That low was actually established already about a couple of hours after NYMEX opened, right? And then Asia just respected that. So in a way, Asia used the level from yesterday. So we'll see. We'll see whether we can get even further moved down, or whether the value acceptance is going to be over, in which case, so will my trade. But yeah, so I was waiting for the retest. Obviously this drop into the value acceptance was too large, so I wasn't gonna do that. And today we have a fairly standard mean reversion first, which overshot because the mean reversion only really had a profit margin of about 40 ticks before it hit that that value high. And today we probably had a report as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we have a build. Again, on the day, that doesn't really have to mean much. Although this move is synonymous with the build of nearly 8 million barrels. It's a lot. Usually when you have FOMC rate decision and the inventory is on the same day, it tends to bring a little bit more movement. Otherwise, as you know, a lot of the inventories end up as failed auctions, and you can even guess that it's going to go the other way. But obviously today we do have some mitigating circumstances, so I was being a bit more careful and just waited to see what's going to happen. After I saw the value acceptance, I identified my nearest level of interest, which in case of a deep value acceptance is always a test of value high from the inside. It's one of the times when you can do that. Having said that, I still didn't manage to get super close to it because first of all, value area is pretty small at 46 ticks, so I don't really have much of a profit margin. Therefore, I'm actually looking for this to overshoot and to keep going down. But if the market doesn't do that, and if it loses momentum, I am going to bail as soon as possible. Again, if I get a chance to do so. So let's see what happens around this level that Claudio is mentioning. We did have a lower low into that area, but at the same time it's a value area low as well. So this could be just the end of the setup. So multiple things happening around this 69.15 rough zone. I did have a dog here. I did have 7 somewhere in here. Seems to have disappeared. Right? Yeah, she's still here. 7? You can say hi. The Borg resistance is futile. Come on. Come here. Come on. Now watch your head. Watch your head. Come up. I'm low down. Come on. You can jump. I know you can. You don't want to jump? No, you don't want to jump. You're a bit hot to jump. Too hot to jump. Hello. There we go. We've got a doggo. We've got a doggo. She's a bit shy. She doesn't like the camera. I'm gonna sit here. Just hugging her. I know it smells good. It's a nice raspberry-like drink from Starbucks. Claudio, yes, the portable screen did arrive. It works. Yay! So I was testing things out yesterday. I even have my screwdriver here. So yeah, I managed to mount them. It works on my network, and the webcam that I have on that laptop, it's not like the best, but you know, it'll do. So it looks like I will be live streaming tomorrow from my place in Belgrade. Woo. I mean, no promises, right? Because if something fucks up, all I'm going to be doing is just going live on my phone and doing a Q&A for you guys. But yeah, no cancelled streams due to my travel this time around. The brand that I used is called Clumsy, like clumsy, but with a K and a W. And I thought it was going to be a bit clumsy, but actually it's pretty cool. So it's a bit wobbly because, you know, obviously the two screens are making it, you know, a little bit heavy, but it's still workable. It's workable. So, and I have a little portable light, this light that I bought, one of those things. TikTok made me buy it. So it's pretty bright. Obviously I'm not gonna bring my ring light and Elgato because I'm only taking my backpack for a couple of days. But this one is pretty bloody bright. So if I maybe get rid of Elgato, so, and just kind of put it like that. It's pretty bright. It looks as if I have an Elgato light. So yeah, it'll do. And it's very, very portable, obviously. So you can just mount it on a, what's this thing called? It's not a horseshoe. Some kind of shoe. Yeah, you just mount it on a tripod, and I have a little tripod back home, so yeah, it's fine. It's very handy actually, really fucking bright, and I did not expect that, especially not for the price that I got it for, because I wanted something super portable, and it's an LED light, so yeah, they're always nice. And I looked at the weather report because usually June is like pretty nice over there, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get like, you know, a bit of sunbathing and stuff. I've been sunbathing here, you can tell I'm quite tanned. Yeah, it was a bit strange. So I'm gonna have, it's not crappy weather, but it's not exactly warm. It's like, I think we're actually having warmer weather here now. And then I leave on Saturday because I have to my best man his birthday, so I have to make an appearance. Otherwise, I was actually planning to stay there until Monday, and Monday was like supposed to be a really nice day, and like really hot and stuff. Well, that's not happening. So yeah. Brad says, I want to place a pre-order on the new Lenovo Yoga Book 9i dual screen laptop. Yeah, I mean, I did see that. The only problem with Lenovo that I have is the shiny screens. So I had a look at some of their previous incarnations, like the, what was it called? The ThinkPad, is it? It was like around the time when I was buying my little laptop, and yeah, it was, I wasn't impressed. I didn't like it. Too shiny. And you know, if I'm gonna have multiple screens and stuff, I want to work outside, so with that you just can't have shiny screens. But if you're gonna use it in the house, then it's fine. Obviously Lenovo's are pretty nicely put together. It's usually latest tech, so yeah. I tend to bang my laptops quite a bit, so I usually just go for something that is super slim. And last time I went for Acer, so it was slim little sort of 14-inch. It was an ultrabook. So I mean, now I suppose it's a few years old now, so I do need an upgrade. But for now, I have other things to think about. It's actually fine. Like yesterday, like I said, I was testing the live stream. I was testing the lighting and everything, and it was really pretty cool. Today I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay here for the full hour or for the full 90 minutes, because I do have some chores to do ahead of my travel tomorrow, and because I'm leaving so early. Germany is doing some kind of a NATO bloody exercise, so usually what I used to do, I used to go and visit a friend, and we would kind of have you know, coffee on my way to Belgrade. So I would get a flight that stops in Germany, like via Frankfurt, and then carry on. But I can't do that now, so I just got a direct flight. However, the direct flight is bloody Wizz Air from Luton, and Luton is miles away from where I am. So I'm in like southwest London, and if I wanted the most inconvenient airport, that would be Luton. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to leave here at like 3 a.m. because they leave in ungodly hours, and I fucking hate that. Like, that was one of the reasons why I quit the music industry. I love Gatwick as well, especially us being in this area, right? And last time I actually went from Gatwick, and it was great on the way there, but then I was coming back on a Sunday, and there was no Gatwick Express, the fuckers. So either way, I had to get an Uber, so that was very annoying, because I was like, oh, I'm going to be home in half an hour, because literally Gatwick from where I am, it's like 35 minutes door to door. It's so fast. Whereas Luton is about an hour and 15 if there's no traffic, probably hour and a half before you can get there. So I'm gonna have to leave at like super ungodly hours, so I'm not really looking forward to that. But it is what it is, yeah. And then on the way back, I managed to get an Air Serbia flight, so that just lands into Heathrow. Again, Heathrow, bloody pain to get from. So again, I'm just gonna Uber it again from there, and then battle through London traffic. I try not to use like too many Ubers if I can, because the public transport in London is pretty good. I don't do buses, but I do tubes and trains. So yeah, it's gonna be an easy trip, hopefully, unless it's like delayed. I really hope this NATO like exercises that Germany is doing is not going to delay my flight too much. We'll see. Alright, so it looks like we've broken through that little area of demand from yesterday. Yeah, by one tick. Like, imagine being a noob trader and then putting a stop loss like literally like one tick below this low, and then getting stopped out, and then the market kind of sort of moves in your direction. That must get like so frustrating for people. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, oh, you're a trader? 'Cause they kind of trade. Everybody's a bloody trader these days. So they were like, oh, what kind of stop loss size do you use? And I said, oh, you know, about 35 to 50 ticks. Like, depends on what I'm trading. Sometimes bigger for something like, you know, more volatile. But generally, you know, 35. And they're like, wow, you must get stopped out a lot. I was like, no, love, you get stopped out a lot. I don't. So then we kind of started talking, and they were like, oh, you know, it's impossible to be that accurate. I was like, okay, yes, we are done here. So then I realized I'm just talking to an amateur, so yeah, there's no point. This is why I try not to talk to too many non-traders, because they just don't get it. And everyone, yeah. Electric bike sharing, is that really a thing now? Jesus, man, we're going backwards. How does that work? Electric bike sharing? I don't go on bikes. Like, I used to do bikes and stuff before I hit my head and before I had my bus accident. So I don't do cycling. I loathe cycling, and I loathe buses. So yeah, but yeah, how the hell does this electric bike sharing work? Well, you have some weirdo, like, you know, behind you just going, hello. I can't believe that's an actual thing, man. Getting lapsed cycles back into the saddle. What does that mean? I mean, we've got Boris bikes, right? But that's not like, you know, you don't really share. You just go to like that parking station thingy that they've got everywhere. Alright guys, I am going to book this around 1.5 now. Purely because I don't really want to be a dick for a tick today. Since we do have FOMC rate decision. Okay, that's gone. Not quite 1.5. I took 1.3. But yeah, that's pretty good going. So yeah, that's my trade done. Yeah, so I don't, and also I'm very small. So with the electric bikes, it's like one time I tried getting the Boris bike. Before the electric ones, they were just like normal ones, and I could barely reach the pedals, man, because you know I am under 5'1", so it didn't really work. So yeah, if I was gonna have a bike of any kind, it would have to be my own. But again, after my head injury, I'm not looking to repeat that experience, so no thank you. Do you do bikes, Claudio? Do you partake in the Boris bike scheme? Because they've destroyed London with this like single lane nonsense now. You can't go anywhere. Like, I literally go outside to do one run and I'm out for 2 hours because there's nowhere to go. There's only one fucking lane. But yeah, when you said bike sharing, I thought you were actually sharing a like actual bike sharing, kind of like the carpool. Because you can share Ubers, like Uber ride share. That's like you share with a random. So you go share, you know, carpool with some random person. I've never done that, but I do have a couple of people that I know who have done it. Yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah, I remember like that one time when I was still working in the city and I cycled in because I was still doing fitness, so I thought to myself, well, if I bike there and you know, I'm not gonna need to do an extra cardio in the morning, and it would kind of save me time. But in the end, I arrived there, I needed a shower, and luckily the place that we worked, it had like showers in there. Most offices do, and it was really nice. So yeah, it was still a waste of time because I then had to get into work, shower, get ready, put my face back on. No. And not to mention that on the way there, I probably got almost into like different accidents 3 different times. Now, I'm a driver. I know the highway code. Like, you know, I'm not an idiot. So it's just the amount of cars that don't really either don't see you or they don't respect you as another participant in the traffic. It's just all a bit ugh. So no, I value my life a bit too much. And even with the electric bikes, no thanks. Plus, you don't really go anywhere. And when I do go somewhere, it's down the road to walk my dogs. So yeah, that's where I'm a little bit set in my ways at this point. I can see all of the delivery drivers. They have the whole electric bikes and stuff. Alright, let's have a look at what I did with this NASDAQ this morning. So if you're on my Twitter, you would have seen this. I got involved pretty late. I actually did one NASDAQ trade last night as well, so didn't quite get to 1 hour. I actually got to the end of the market, so I think I got around 0.5 or something like that. But if I go to this London trade, NASDAQ smaller stop loss, it was bloody hairy. It got to within 1 tick of my stop, and I didn't think that was going to survive, and then luckily it turned around, and I ended up taking about 1.5, 1.4, something like that. As soon as it hit it, I was like, you know what, after this drama, I'm not letting this do anything else. And because of the high percentage of accuracy that I have at the moment, which is sitting around 70%, well 69 to be exact, I can't afford to take a lot more 1 and 1.5 hours. So one of the things that I'm working on at the moment, because I can be a little bit of a dick for a tick when it comes to my 2 hours, especially if I'm in a time of the year when I'm not having a 70% accuracy. So obviously the accuracy has to be done with the risk reward as a balance, kind of like on a seesaw. Otherwise, if you don't understand the relationship between the hit rate and between your R multiples, that can get you into a lot of trouble. So the lower your hit rate, you really need to hit those 2 Rs pretty consistently. But there is a cutoff point that after you go over 56% accuracy pretty steadily, not like, oh yeah, 2 days I had 56%. No, if you have like 3 to 6 months of your accuracy being more, quite solidly more above 56%, then you can start taking 1-to-1s, 1.5 Rs, and you will still be wildly profitable. But as soon as that falls to 55, 52, 50, 48, 42%, that's when taking 1 Rs is going to do fuck all for your actual results. All you're going to be doing is a lot of work with not a lot of profit. So take a look at your accuracy. If it's below 56% over 3 to 6 months, you need the 2 Rs. If it's above that, you can start doing 1-to-1s. So what was this trade? It was a late failed auction. So there was a failed auction, and I was just sat here. I wanted to do a trade on something. Considered going into a GC over NQ, but somehow I don't know why I didn't do the GC. This one looked better to me, and yeah, so I got involved very late. I did put down in my journal that I could have gotten involved in this RBR area instead of where I actually got involved in. So that is a critique on me. I used a 44 tick stop roughly, which is around 11 ticks, 11 handles. And again, it was a close call, but I got there in the end. I'm I'm not a huge fan of trading Nasdaq these days during the NYSE session because it's so crazy still, and the only time I would consider a trade is in the last sort of hour to half an hour of the exchange, and I then cut the size down to half of my usual size, and I use about, it's a pretty big stop loss I use on the NQ, so it's like 160 ticks, which works out at about, I think it's about 40 handles or something like that. Where's my calculator? Yeah, so it's 40 handles, and that's comfortable to me, so yeah. Yeah, so it was pretty drama free for the rest of it, because once the price reversed and started moving downwards, I was actually able to grab some profit, and that was it. And then that kind of stressed me out so much that I didn't trade the rest of the London session. Like, just joking. Obviously, I didn't get stressed out. I couldn't have cared less even if I did get stopped out. But yeah, it was just interesting because NQ during London is something that I do very occasionally, but I find it easier to trade out of hours than I do for the New York Stock Exchange. It still moves, but obviously not as crazy. If you compare the size of London versus New York in ticks, we have over 800 ticks for NYSE, and we have 325 ticks for London. So, you know. Alright, what's going on with gold? Gold is creating like a weird P shape for now. So this is probably going to be a P-shaped day. Inside day. And let's just change these standard deviation things to be solid. And then going up. This trade from yesterday ended up at scratch. I didn't really feel the need to tweet about it because it was zero. So where are we? So rejecting the demand area and a 4-hour Q low, and then from the daily chart hitting a little conterminous line from the previous reaction now and going down. What does that do to the weekly chart? That means a test of a conterminous line from a Morningstar reversal and then a continuation, my friends. So I would probably be waiting for some kind of a long tomorrow, because we do have a slowdown that has been lasting for quite a while now. And until that goes, I don't want to fight that. So I don't think I'm going to be doing any more trades, because I will probably be in bed by the time FOMC rate decision is announced. So yeah, it looks like that will be my day. It's not an AC, it's just a fan. If I put on AC, which is over there, you won't be able to hear anything. I can actually put this down a little bit. I just hit the microphone. Lovely. So this is now on the lowest setting. Maybe that's better, because I can live with this as well. Maybe kind of angle it a little bit over here. So yeah, I wish I could have AC on in this country. They don't allow the split systems here because of the look of the building. Because if you're doing an AC split system, you always have to have an indoor unit and then an outdoor unit. And here, unless you're like in a industrial office and stuff, which this isn't, this is just a residential, and it's a conservation area as well, so that means they are like, I can't even change the color of the windows, I can't even change the type of the windows. So my windows, the ones that I replaced here, they were sash windows, and even though they are double glazed, they're still not fully double glazed because they're sash windows, they have fucking holes around them. So yeah, but it is the look of the property. It's a Victorian house, so you can't install proper AC system, so the only option is to have a crappy one with the you know, the hose out the window. And again, that doesn't really work that effectively. You can cool the place down, but because there's so many fucking holes in this place, and then you have a window open with a little board, just, you know, very highly ineffective, let's put it that way. And you know, like Mike said yesterday, you guys are used to the drilling all the time, so a little bit of, you know, fan noise shouldn't be a problem. And Marcus actually sent me a DM on Twitter. He's in here every so often as well. He said, you know what, why don't you put, because he saw that I was really struggling one of the days when I was doing the live stream. It was so hot and I was literally like melting. And he said, why don't you just put like a fan and have a Beyonce moment? So I was like, yes, I will do that. Oh yes. So so yeah, here we are. That was actually a very good advice. So thank you, Marcus. So he was like, oh, you should buy a fan. And I'm like, I've got a bloody fan, but I thought it was going to be so loud. And as it turned out, it's actually not that bad at all. So yeah. So now I can breathe without totally melting. Mike says, then that's, hold on, let me just have a look at something. It's a what low? SR low. Mike, if you're still around, what is SR low? Because if you're thinking like S1, sort of like support level, I don't know what SR low is. So if you could elaborate, that would be nice. We're fans of fans, yes. What was that horrible joke that I did in one of the Instagram thingies? Somebody asked me whether I was a fan of institutional order flow, and I said, well, at this point I'm probably big fan, yes, and probably at this point an air conditioner. So I was like, yeah, that's a bad joke. Oh, session range low, right, I see. I have it at a different level though. Is my session range wrong? Let me check before I, because my session range is at 6845, but I could have ADR set wrong. No, it is right. Why would that be different? I usually use the abbreviation ASRLO. This is something where I disagreed with the labels with my development team, because I wanted to label it ASRLO, because, you know, we have QLO and ASR is my fucking concept, right? And they were like, nah, nobody's gonna know what that means, let's just put it SR. And I'm like, but no, but I'm not gonna know what the fuck that is. So now we do have DR low and SR low, but it to me is still like So sorry, that was my mistake. I need to make sure that I know what the bloody labels are. Yeah, so for some reason I totally forgot that that's how we labeled it. So it's missing an A because it's not really a session or session range low, it's average session range. This is not a session low, it's average session range. Two different numbers. But you know, my development team has, obviously they have a mind of their own. And a lot of the times we are in conflict, you know. I have to fight for a lot of stuff that they this is dripping everywhere. Nice. They have to, you know, they obviously have their own ideas of how things should be labeled, which is fine, but it is a lot of the stuff that we're working on is my concepts, so why wouldn't we label them that way? But obviously I get outvoted. Yeah, so I would say that the ASR low today might be in the middle of nowhere a little bit, because if I have a look at it on larger time frames and 30 minutes, I don't really see much there. Like, yes, there is a little bit of a speed bump here, but at the same time it was created in London. And I'm a little bit mistrusting when it comes to London levels. Let's see where the daily chart area is. We're already in it. Okay, yeah. Alright, so yeah, it could happen, Mike. It could happen. Alright, it's acceptable. It is acceptable. But because we have the FOMC, just be careful with the obviously the release itself, and use other supportive factors. Because if anything, one thing that I've noticed, which is something that happens throughout the summer, is that we now have this fixed line getting closer and closer to the daily range from the 24 hours. So DR low and 0.5 low are close together, and these guys are not joined up yet, but you can expect a slowdown over the summertime. Usually this is the most effective throughout the times of the year when traditionally you don't have moves that just keep going and going and going in the same direction, but things gonna start to first of all lower in the ranges. So the number of ticks in a day is no longer 250, 300, 350, 400. It tends to fall to about 150, 120 during the summertime, and around about that time you will see the average daily range and the 0.5 range lines come together and be kind of around the same areas. So at that point, the DR 0.5, which is a fixed measure, it's not a dynamic measure, it becomes an area of interest. So purely because of that, and because we also have a daily Q low, I would have chosen ADR, H4Q low and DR 0.5 over the ASR. But they're so close together. They're within a 50 tick range. So any of them can be reactive. So that is actually a pretty good hypo. Let me have a look at YM, because we have somebody who trades YM. And we now have lunchtime. Okay, failed auction coming from value low. Okay. Let me just answer a question here. Hypos 2 look good. So we have somebody saying we might have a SEEB set up on YM. I will disagree with that on the basis that the move away actually happened in D period. From my research, whenever you have a move away that happens in D period, that tends to minimize the SEEB setup. Why? Because of the volume. So if you have a look at the big volume at the open, much less of a volume here, and then just a fall away at C at D period, right? So we must, like, one of the reasons why SEEB and WEEB work from the initial balance is because the levels were created so with such amount of volume that a lot of orders are still waiting there. So it's much more difficult to break through them. So actually today I wouldn't have said that there is a SEEB setup. If anything, if I was looking at this before the extension, I would have said WEEB might have been more obvious. But obviously with SEEB and WEEB on most days, we have to wait until the market actually extends the initial balance to one side, and then you get to decide. Much easier which side might be on the cards. So right now that's a no-go because we have a little bearish engulfing and extension to the upside. So that is actually not what we want to see. I'm just writing all of this out, the stuff that that I've just explained. And the final one. Full answered. Yeah, so we can expect a little bit of a pop to happen around this area, but again, because of the lack of volume that created the move away, I would be highly suspicious, and especially because the value low is effectively just above us. So if you're looking for that setup, usually on YM I would use about a 60 to 65 tick stop loss, so you don't even have 2R. And even if I'm going to take 1 or 1.5R, I still like to have at least 2R available on the actual setup. So it's a profit margin problem. I would say that this whole thing is now in the middle of a middle. So rather than aiming to get involved here, really my areas of interest would lie lower or higher. So at the value area low or sub this 0.5 DR that acted as a reversal. 0.5 DRs are fixed lines that start from midnight GMT, and then we use the average daily range size, and you put half of that to the lower side and half of it to the top side, and those levels don't change. With that, it means that when the market is turning around at those levels, it means that there's not that much of a range, not much of a trend. We haven't really moved all that much from GMT. So therefore that, along with the size of the initial balance, which is not that big, it would increase the odds of a neutral day. So all of that is needs to be taken into account. I know that I don't talk a lot about the 0.5 DRs, but I do mention it when I talk about quieter markets in the program. Again, that is one of those things that maybe needs its own lecture, perhaps under the trading responsive activity, and from what I can tell, I think the responsive setups, there's probably going to be 3 extra lectures coming up, because it's not enough to just have one very big lecture. I try to limit the lectures in the program to maximum 45 minutes to maybe an hour, but anything longer than that and your focus kind of tends to slip. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it. I'm not going to be doing any more trading for the day. So I did the NQ and I did the CL trade live. And then I'm going to go do some chores. Maybe get a dog walk in, but the problem is it's very hot outside. I don't really like walking dogs when it's like 27 degrees. I can't walk them in that. So we're in the process of changing doggy daycare, so I can't send them to daycare right now. So my poor husband is just gonna have to pick up the slack for the next 3 days. I'll try and get a walk in on Saturday when I come back. So yeah. Alright guys, that's gonna be it. Like I said, the short and sweet relatively, but I did manage to do about 55 minutes. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully from Belgrade. So I won't be in this setting. It's going to be a slightly different setting. A lot of bookshelves and crap in the back with lots of my photos. My mom obviously was obsessed with having photos of me everywhere. So in the top area it's all a bit weird. It's like some kind of a weird shrine to my music career. Yeah, so I'm going to try and set up the scene tomorrow when I arrive. I'm gonna have plenty of time because I land at about 10:40 a.m. and the live stream according to that time zone is about 5:15 p.m. rather than 4:15, so I have enough more than enough time to try and set something up. Until then, let's try to be less muppety and more market stalkery with every passing day. I will see you tomorrow from Belgrade, hopefully.